Welcome geniuses, I'm Genie, your best buddy for A-levels. In this channel, we'll bring you to explore the secret formula behind success.
Moving forwards, guys, we settled the last part, which is the magnitude part, yeah? In terms of PED, we learned that when PED equals to 1, this is unitary elasticity, where percentage change in price is equivalent to percentage change in quantity demanded. Okay, and when PED equals to 0, this is perfectly inelastic demand, where no matter what happened to percentage change in price, okay, QD will not change. And we have another case, we call it PED equals to infinity. This is perfectly elastic demand, where regardless the changes in QD, okay, price will not change. And we also learn when PED is between 1 to infinity, this is elastic demand. You can always go back to the video that I discussed about PED to check on this thing, to revise this thing, okay? And when PED is between 0 to 1, we call it inelastic demand, okay? And guys, the same thing applied to PES, yeah? So this time round, I will continue to PES first. Okay, when PES equals to 1, then we call it unitary elasticity of supply. Okay, when PES equals to 0, we call it perfectly inelastic supply, or supply is perfectly inelastic to price. Okay, and when PES equals to infinity, then we call it perfectly elastic supply. Likewise, when PES is between 1 to infinity, this one we call it elastic supply, when supply is responsive to changes in price. And likewise, when PES is between 0 to 1, we call it inelastic supply. Okay, that's the case for PED and PES. Okay, now we move on to YED and XED. Okay, under YED case, when we are doing negative YED, which is inferior goods and mentioned just now, we don't really need to care about the magnitude at all. But then for positive YED, which means when it is normal goods, then we need to care, we need to distinguish the magnitude into two categories. We have something which is YED between 0 and 1. This one, we call it inelastic income elasticity of demand, okay, when the demand is income inelastic, and this thing, we call it the basic necessities, which the percentage change in income will be greater than percentage change in demand. So for example, when your income rises by 10%, your demand for basic necessity might increase because you can now afford more. But then because basic necessity, we have certain quantity that we need, Okay, so even if we buy more, we also wouldn't buy a lot more. So that is what we call income inelastic. So, okay, I think I change this to a better way. Okay, I put it income inelastic, then it will be easier for you. Likewise, when the YED figure is bigger than 1 and then smaller than any defined number, this one, we call it income elastic, and we refer to luxury product, where the percentage change in income will be smaller than percentage change in demand. And this is kind of logic as well. We got a small rise in income, but the demand for branded stuff will rise by more than that. We got a small rise in income, the demand for holiday packages will rise more than that. So that is called income elastic, income sensitive. Okay, this is why during economic phases, changes in economic phases like recession or like economic boom, the demand for luxury product will undergo like huge fluctuations. Like now, when the world is hit by COVID-19, falling into recession, then we can see that the demand for holiday packages, the demand for branded stuff, the demand for expensive restaurant, the demand for like all the high-class hotels or whatever is likely to fall drastically. Okay, that's the case for YED. Moving on, the last part, let's look at the magnitude of XED. What is that like? What are they trying to tell us? Okay, so I give you one example. For example, a XED equals to positive 5 versus positive 0.5. Okay, the first thing we know that when XED is positive, okay, regardless 5 or 0.5, it shows two goods are substitutes. That is what we have confirmed in the previous part. However, when XED is positive 5, meaning to say when price of Y rise by 1%, demand for X will rise by 5%. A lot. When price of like good A rise by just a little bit, demand for good B will rise by more than proportionate. This shows that two goods are strong substitutes. They are strongly related. Okay, so like Coke and Pepsi, like Honda and Toyota, they are considered very strong substitute. Then when it is positive 0.5, based on this way, price of Y increased by 1%, demand for X will rise by only 0.5%. So it shows that they are weak substitute. For example, Rolls-Royce and Honda, they are targeted on different groups of user. Therefore, even when price of Honda drop by 10% or whatever, demand for Rolls-Royce might not be affected much because they are considered very weak substitute. All right. So if we continue with this method, therefore, if XED is negative 5 or negative 0.5, also indicate whether they are strong or weak complements. Okay, so when XED is negative, it shows that two goods are complement. When XED is negative 5, meaning that when price of Y increase by 1%, demand for X will drop by 5%. So they are considered strong complement, like petrol and cars. Okay, so when XED equals to -5. Lastly, when XED equals to -0.5, it shows that when price of Y increased by 1%, demand for X only dropped by 0.5%. So they are considered weak complements, like sugar and coffee. They are not necessarily strong complement because there are a lot of people who like to drink coffee without sugar. So some they like to go with sugar, some they like prefer not. So therefore they are complements, but then they are not considered a strong one. If your consumption, your demand for toothbrush and toothpaste is considered weak complements, meaning that most of the time you brush your teeth maybe without toothbrush. Oops. It's wrong. Meaning that most of the time when you use a toothbrush to brush your teeth, you go without toothpaste. So whether this is a problem or not, I don't know. So guys, that's all for our explanation and summary for elasticity concept. I'll see you next round discussing other topics. Please refer to the essay discussion and also multiple choice discussion to know more about like how questions can be asked under this particular subtopic. See you.
That's all for today's video. If you're interested in more genuine sharing by other geniuses, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to turn on the notification bell, ding dong. Also, if you're struggling with one or two past year questions and the mark scheme just doesn't seem to help, Genie has got you covered. Feel free to let us know what question it is by filling in the Google form linked in the description below. GenieUs Hub will get genius teachers to fulfill your request for the solution. Genie will see you next time. Bye-bye.